Welcome back to Biz Audio, and today we're joined by one of Australia's emerging voices in radio, Cheralyn Darcey. Cheralyn is quickly building a strong reputation as a warm and engaging broadcaster, currently heard on 2HD Newcastle across the Super Radio network on the Nightline. Most recently, her work has been recognised nationally, with Cheralyn named a finalist in the Best Newcomer on Air Medium category at the inaugural Australian Audio Awards. A terrific acknowledgement of her growing impact and connection with audiences. It's my pleasure to welcome Cheralyn to the podcast.
Hi, Max. Thanks a lot for having me.
Of course. And first of all, congratulations on being named a finalist in the Australian Audio Awards. And what was your reaction when you heard the news?
Complete and utter shock, I have to say. Yes, very, very shocked because it's my first time entering something like this, and I'm new to commercial radio, so very, very shocked. And I'm still speechless when I think of it, to be quite honest, which is unusual for me, Max.
And what do you think has resonated the most with listeners in your work on the Nightline?
I think it's because I'm myself, to be honest. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but I don't know how to do anything else. I've had training. I've been to TAFE. I've got my diploma of screen and media, and I'm currently at AFTRS, but I've deferred for a year because of the job. And I've got experience in community radio and public radio, but I think the thing is, I never thought I'd end up in talkback radio. My show's talkback and lifestyle. But I think it's because I really genuinely love people. I've been involved in a lot of community projects over the years that have nothing to do with media. And I think that's what it is. It's just that I'm really interested in people, their stories, whether they're a guest on my program or whether they're the audience who are listening and the ones that ring in.
And what was it that first drew you to radio, and how did you get your foot in the door in radio?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I'm a writer and I've been published, and I was a subject matter expert for a long time. So that's my public radio experience. So the ABC in particular used to lean on me when they wanted to know about my subject, which is botanical history. It's very sort of drilled down niche thing, but I just love botanical history. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the history of plants, whatever that may be. And I loved being able to share what I knew with people. And it was suggested to me. A lot of people at the ABC who I came across said, have you ever thought of training in radio or giving it a go? And it was a couple of people in the ABC who suggested I give community radio a go, because that's a great place to train. And so I did. I started at Coast FM on the central coast of New South Wales about, oh gosh, it would have been about 8 years ago now.
Wow. And do you remember your first live radio broadcast and what that moment was like?
Yes, I do. I walked into Coast FM and I wanted to do a gardening show. And that was what was suggested to me by some of the people I'd met at the ABC. And Pete Little, who was then the station manager, and he's from the old 2GO days, said, nobody's interested in gardening shows now. They're not. But he said, I think you've got something though. Come and hang around the station, have a go, and we'll train you to be on air. And I thought, okay, that's fine. And a couple of weeks later, the COVID lockdowns hit. And of course, everywhere, everybody was gardening. And he tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, you know that idea you had about a gardening show? And I said, yep. He said, let's do it. Look, I didn't know how to panel. I didn't know anything. So he said, I'll panel, I'll be your co-host, and we'll do it together. And it was a half an hour gig. And it was pretty much the same as what I'd done before. To be honest, it was that whole being a subject matter expert. But I was nervous because all of a sudden I was part of a program, and I do remember it. And I remember talking too much and Pete throwing a box of tissues at me. Well, not at me, near me, and laughing afterwards and just saying, shh, you don't need to be the expert here. So we had a good laugh at that. So I had to learn to not be the person being interviewed, which is hard, I've got to say.
That's awesome. And from your perspective, what makes great radio in 2026, especially when audiences have so many other audio options?
The same thing. I think that, well, I know it's the live element. So my program's live. So it's being live, it's being present, it's being connected with that audience. And that's the point of difference. It's a big point of difference. And you're right, with so much out there that people can connect with and consume, I think still very much to this day, radio, it gives the opportunity to be live. And if you can be live, even if it's a short talk break on an FM station, that's what you should grab hold of, because you can hear the difference. And that's what I think radio, and I know, actually I don't think, I know that's where radio still plays a part, and people really need that at the moment.
And going into that a bit more in depth, do you think live and local still has an advantage over podcasts and on demand audio in that overnight space?
100%, 100%. There is room for. Look, I love podcasts. There's no doubt, and I'm not just saying this because you're podcasting, Max, at all. But look, I'm a big consumer of podcasts. I love them. They're a place to get the information that you want when it's convenient for you. But particularly at night time. But I'm going to say 24 hours a day. There are moments that people need to hear people live, and particularly locally, very important. Now, I do have a program that is local and it's also national. So I do look at, there is that other side to it. I'm Australian national, and you look at podcasts, they're all over the world. So I still think Australians need to hear Australian voices, their community too. And to hear it live is so important. Again, it's about that human connection. We're in a world now where people aren't connected anymore for lots of different reasons. And I just think if they can hear that warmth and someone who's genuinely interested in them, and they're live as well, is very important. And as far as radio in smaller regional areas, so important to be local. I think it's absolutely imperative that there is at least some content that is local that people can connect with at some part of the day. It's important. It's vital, actually.
And are there any major news stories that you've covered on your time in commercial and community radio that have really stayed with you?
Yeah, Bondi was a big one. I was there the following night, so that was so important to be able to. I know it's a cliche, but it is, to hold that space when people are very angry, when people have views that they want to express that might not align with everybody. That was very important. So, and an important moment there. As far as live moments that have happened, I guess, look, I'm not a Catholic, but the Pope being announced, I was doing an overnight at the time, and there were a lot of people that were ringing in of all different faiths that was so interested. And so to be able to announce that and then have the phone calls coming in afterwards, that was something that really resonated with me. I thought and it was interesting being somebody who isn't a Catholic, just seeing how joyous people were of whatever faith, and to be able to wait and go through that whole process of electing a new pope was fascinating.
And yourself having a nighttime program, do you think that that's very different from having a daytime program? And do you think you get to connect with your listeners more at night?
Look, I haven't done a daytime program. I've done a morning program, which was a home and garden program in community radio, so very different. But I haven't done a daytime program at in commercial radio, so I can't really speak to that. As far as from what I can see, just standing as an outsider, and from what I've been taught, nighttime radio, my program runs from 8 p.m., sometimes 7 p.m. till midnight. It's a slower pace, and calls, when people do call in, we do allow a little bit more space. They're a bit longer. They're, my gosh, they're very varied. So it's a little bit of politics earlier in the night, and then we start going into lifestyle, and we start moving into more personal areas as well. So I think that's what's different about it. It's a slower pace and probably more personal.
And what does preparation for a broadcast look like when you're delivering news?
News on everything. Well, mine's I was going news the whole lot. Oh my goodness. Well, you've got me now early in the morning. So preparation for me is all day. So to put the night line on at night, I work all day on it. So my first thing is I get up and I read the news from around the world. I make notes on what I think my audience will be most interested in. And I write as well. I write those stories, and I'll write, and also some fun things as well, because that's what we like, a little bit of lightness, because people have had a lot of news, you've got to understand, Max, all through the day, like thrown at them, the stuff they've wanted to consume, stuff that's just, as I said, thrown at them. And by nighttime, what I do is a couple of, maybe the first hour, we look at news and politics, and then after that we go into the lighter subjects. So the preparation is quite broad, if I can use that term, very, very broad, and that's why it takes a long time. So it does take all day to prepare. I'm on Monday to Friday, so I start Sunday afternoons, sort of looking at lifestyle topics, and then each day, and then just before I'm on, between about 6 and 8, I really drill down into the big topics, the big news stories of the day.
And do you think the trust people place in radio news is different from other forms of media?
Um, I I think in a live broadcast it is. It depends on the person. There's trust in the person, and there's a lot to do with personality. There's people would like the way that I present it because they like maybe a more personable approach. And I'm a bit humorous. Don't get me wrong, not when it's a completely serious subject, but they like that take on it. And some people would prefer something that's 100% down the line, very, very straight. And that's just personality. We're all the same. We all like things differently. But I think with radio, there is that idea of building up the trust with the person that's delivering the news. I suppose I would think of it from my own childhood, the 6 o'clock news. We had a selection of 2 or 3 different broadcasters on television, and we would, lean into the person whose style we felt we trusted
And
and aligned with us.
sorry, in an age
You're
of
right.
podcasts, social media, and AI, how do you think radio stays relevant?
Again, it's about being authentic, and I'm cringing at myself now, but it's true. It's just being yourself. That's how you remain relevant. Because you're right, with AI and with everything being able to be created and formatted on templates so easily and replicated, I really think that that's the way. And it can be so hard at times, because not everybody is going to like your authentic self or your genuine self. And it's really easy. And look, I've fallen into it, Max, heaps of times, and thought, oh, people don't like this side of me. Maybe I'll change a bit. But then that's not me. That's it. And I think you've got to stick with that, and stick with that, because then that's okay. It's like, look, I can't stand strawberry ice cream. That's it. There's tons of people who will tell me I'm absolutely crazy and bonkers. So, that's okay. I'm chocolate or vanilla ice cream, that part of the Neapolitan. So, I'll just keep doing me, because it's too hard to put up a facade. I think that's the thing. And that's how you stay relevant, is being you, staying informed, and making sure that the opinions that you share, or the way that you interact with people, is the way that you'd interact with them if they were standing in front of you. And that's how I think about it, and that's how I talk to everybody. It's no different than if you were sitting there having a cup of coffee with me.
And looking back across your career in commercial and community, what moment stands out as the most memorable?
Oh gosh, I guess there's so many, there's too many to probably a couple of times meeting people who I really looked up to and getting amazing advice from. And oh gosh, those people were Simon Marnie, Costa, I mean, the gardening type people, leaning into that sort of thing. They were amazing. Being at community radio was making a real difference in being able to create programs, not just my own, but helping out there, learning so many things, and helping create a really important station in that area. When it comes to commercial radio, it's actually landing the job. That was just phenomenal. Like that's still, I still get a great big grin on my face remembering that day going in for the interview and getting told, yeah, actually, because I walked in sort of saying I can produce and I know how to do audio editing. I've learned all these things. I've done sales production for 3 years, and oh yeah, and I'm a presenter as well, and here's my reel, and then being told, yeah, we're going to give you a go at talkback, and just I actually I actually took a few paces backwards, and there was a lot of fear. So that's probably the biggest one, that actual day, and the very first time I sat down at the microphone to do talkback. I mean, it was absolutely terrifying. I'd love to sit here and say it was so thrilling and I was so excited. I was just mortified that very first time. Which, and now I love talking to people on here, but it's just, I was just mortified. It was. I thought, oh my goodness, because I just had these, like I'm at the station where John Laws works. Are you kidding me? What am I doing here? I'm the biggest fake and phony in the whole world. That's how I felt.
Wow. And do you think your background as an author has helped you in your job on the radio at the moment?
100%, 100%. The writing skills that I have helped me enormously because I write all my own content. Now, some people will say that I probably overdo it, but I love writing, but it has helped me so much. The research skills, probably even more than that, have helped me so much. So I love research. I've had to do that. I've had what are we up to? 25 titles published now internationally, and most of my stuff sells overseas, so it's some here. But the research I have to do for my work is really intense, but I love it. And those skills that I've learned on how to really drill down, find the heart of a topic, and then how to connect that with an audience, they're the skills that have helped me so much. I often feel when I speak to people stepping into radio, oh, go and do a writing course or something, even though I've done it. I haven't done one myself, but I've got the experience, because writing for an audience really helps. And I still write for newspapers and magazines to this day because I think it keeps my skills and nice and polished up.
And do you think it's difficult to do a radio show on your own, especially without some main
Oh,
producers?
100%. It's so hard. No safety net. No. So yeah, I do the Nightline yes, that's right. I do it by myself. I don't have a producer or someone to answer the phone. So I mean, there's one thing. It's 100% me, which is a good and bad thing. So if it fails, hey, it's all on me. But if it succeeds, there's a lot of pride in that, getting it done. It's a lot of work. So the extra work is, obviously, a producer would be looking for the stories. The producer would be then helping out with the putting the things to the podcast afterwards. I mean, gosh, there's so many things that a producer does. They don't just sit there in a booth. But also, while I'm on air, I've learnt to multitask. So I have two laptops in front of me and a TV screen. I'm continually scanning news because I can't miss out on breaking news, and then making notes while I'm doing other things. So it is really difficult, challenging, but I guess the thing is, as I said, it's all mine. That's it. I mean, one day, hopefully, I'll have a producer one day. At the moment, that's the way it is in radio. But it does teach you a lot as well. I think I'd be a bloody good producer as well, Mash, if all else fails. Because I know what's required.
And before we wrap up on the radio stuff, I've got a few quick fire questions, just
Sure.
general sort of. What's your favorite food?
Oh, anything Japanese.
Coffee order?
Cappuccino.
Podcast that you're currently listening to?
Stuff they don't want you to know. I know that's a bit out there, but I love those blokes. They make me laugh.
And favorite musician?
My fat. It's going to be controversial, I know, but I do like Keith Urban.
and
All things considered.
and favorite actor?
Harrison Ford.
And you reading any books currently, or favorite books?
My favorite book of all time. I love anything by. I love Pride and Prejudice. I absolutely love it, and anything by Mel Robbins. I just find her inspiring.
And favorite radio talent, past or present?
Favorite. Oh, look, I'm going to date myself here. Present. I'm dating myself, and look now, Amanda Keller, without a doubt, I think she's so inspirational. Present, I'm a child of the Doug Mulray era, and I still get a great big grin when I think of him.
And early mornings or late nights?
Look, I am such an early morning person, so this gig is killing me, but I'm an early morninger. Yeah,
And dream holiday destination?
Japan.
And who would play you in a movie?
Who would play? Oh my gosh. Who would play me in a movie? I don't know. That's a big one, isn't it? Oh my gosh, my mind's just, you're fast fire questions. I've never thought of that as a question. It'd have to be somebody I hope that's funny. That's who I'd think. I don't know. Maybe Goldie Hawn. There we go.
And last quick fire question, what is the most underrated job in radio?
The most the most underrated job in radio, being a presenter without a producer.
Wow.
Oh dear. I'll get in trouble for that. You better not put that again.
Well, a big thank you to Cheralyn and Darcey, and you can catch the Nightline on Newcastle's 2HD and across the Super Radio network from weekdays 8 p.m. to midnight. Thank you so much for hopping on the show.
Oh, cheers. Thanks, Max.